Stuart, you've been using these Lifewave patches for a little bit now. When did you start with them?
About a year now.
About a year.
Yeah.
So what attracted you to Lifewave? How did you get started?
Well, I was introduced to it by a colleague, someone I met on the lecture circuit. And in functional medicine, I'm sure you experience it too. You get a lot of hype and hyperbole about the latest and greatest treatments and yada yada from the supplement suppliers, from other physicians who have had great experiences. But I've learned to be very skeptical about everything I hear. But I've also practiced open-minded skepticism. So when I was asked to try the patches, I said, okay, I'll give it a go. I didn't really expect much because usually the hype is not true. But in this case, it was amazingly beyond my expectations. So at 73, not nearly, I'm lying, I'm only 72 3/4. I still play competitive soccer with competitive leagues, and 20 are competing with us. So I get a lot of aches and pains. The first thing I noticed when I put the patch on, I had a pretty bad back pain from the game the night before. And my pain disappeared in minutes. It's just outstanding. Going forward, I had improved stamina. Recovery time after a game was markedly improved. My sleep was improved. I had just better energy throughout the day. So that was pretty dramatic. Patricia also started using the patches, and she's had a number of chronic problems. She had a shoulder injury that we got whitewater rafting, and she's almost ready to forgive me for it. She was ready to have surgery on her shoulder. Put the patch on the shoulder injury, and after about 2.5, 3 months, her pain was resolved enough that she's back playing tennis. She has been hiking, and normally up in the Denver mountains, she would get short of breath in a very short period of time, but now she's able to hike high up in the mountains and have no problems. I think the most quantifiable is her bike tolerance. We'd go for bike rides, and she would typically poop out at 4 miles and struggle to make the 4 miles back home again. 2 days after she put the patch on, and this was the X39 patch that we'll talk about, I'm sure, she blew past the 4 mile mark, kept going. We did 8 miles, and we're planning to stop and sit and have lunch or something. She said, "No, it's too crowded. We're in the middle of COVID. I don't want to stop. Let's turn around and go back." So without resting, she turned around and did the 8 miles back home. That was 16 miles where she normally gets pooped at 4. That was just outstanding. She's had a chronic foot neuropathy that has defied everything we tried to do. Just over time, it's probably been 4 months, she started saying that her pain was much better. And she now says that she typically has about 70% in her pain, so that she's able to get back hiking. She's had improvement in her stamina and her sexual desire and responsiveness. And she says that she feels 10 years younger. To me, she looks 10 years happier. I'm really very, very impressed with these patches.
So can you explain a little bit how these patches work? Photobiomodulation is the term that we hear in relation to them. Can you explain what that is?
I don't know about you, but in functional medicine, I in medical school, we never talked about photobiomodulation. But what it is light-induced effect on living organisms. And there are lots of examples of this. We certainly are all aware that vitamin D is produced in the skin under the influence of ultraviolet light. And certain frequencies will produce that. Melanin is released from pigment cells under the influence of light. There are melatonin is suppressed from the pineal gland under the influence of light. All of this regulates our chronostat, our timing of everything that is cyclic in our body. And we have other experiences. All of life relies on photosynthesis, which is light energy derived energy production in the green cells. We know that red light will be used to treat wrinkles and scars and improves wound healing. Blue light has been used to treat depression. So we can go on and on with this. Plants can't grow in incandescent light. They need other spectrum of light. There's energy that is in each element. These patches don't release anything. Nothing comes out of them. No chemical comes out of them. There is a little pad in the middle. Oh, I'll show you mine. See that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
It looks like a little Band-Aid, and in the middle is a white pad. And that pad is impregnated with amino acids and sugar crystals. And they are designed to absorb infrared light, heat energy from your body, and reflect back a specific frequency of that light energy. And the specific frequency is selected to induce certain signaling molecules. In this case, it is inducing something called GHK. And that GHK has a wide range of activities. So it's that photobiomodulation, the light energy affecting our body, no chemicals, no side effects, no problems to be concerned about, nothing to swallow.
Can you discuss the importance of stem cells for laymen?
Yeah. So we come from stem cells. Our body begins as a fertilized egg. The sperm and egg come together, form an ovum, and that begins to divide. You get 2, 4, 8, 16 cells. Those are all embryonic stem cells. Eventually, they begin to differentiate. They become, move off to become placenta parts, and other parts become baby parts. And to form baby, we need to form muscles and eyeballs and bones. And these are all lines of stem cells that begin to branch off like a tree. Those stem cells stay with us throughout life. Our skin, for example, is completely regenerated every 7 days. That doesn't come by the skin cells dividing and becoming two like bacteria do. They come from stem cells, from basal cells that mature and begin to move forward to the surface to form that epithelium. All of regeneration, whether it's your bone, injuries, all of this comes from stem cells producing new cells. As we age, our stem cell line begins to deplete as much as 60% by the time we are in our 50s, and much more so as we get into our 70s. I've had patients over the years that have spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to get stem cell injections. And typically these are derived from fat cells, which are already differentiated. You can't make blood cells from fat cells, from fat derived stem cells. What the X39 is doing is it's stimulating a very primitive, a multi-potential stem cell from the skin. And that stem cell can go on to form all the lines in the body. So we are dramatically increasing the amount of stem cells in our body and activating them. As we age also, the amount of activation, there are a lot of stem cells just in a hibernating state, but now we're getting more active stem cells. But saying that, when you said you had a great improvement in your pain, it takes about 7 days to begin to see the increase in stem cells. So our pain relief is not from stem cells, it's from all the other features of the X39. The GHK that is stimulated, it improves the genetic makeup of about 4,000 different genes. Over time, our genes become aged, and with toxic changes, they become what's called hypermethylated. It's as if our genetic capability is an encyclopedia of possibilities, and we are making proteins from the pages that are open. when genes are hypermethylated from toxins or from aging, those pages are stuck shut. We can't use them anymore. They're not available. GHK has the ability to unstick that and reactivate, rejuvenate over 4,000 of our genes. That's about a quarter of the protein producing genetic makeup. It also does a whole host of other things, increases amino acids. So we're getting more branched chain amino acids for soft tissue repair. We get more tryptophan, which helps with sleep and depression. We get more GABA that helps to calm an excited nervous system. It increases mitochondrial function, so we have improved energy production. It's just a remarkable substance.
I just had a quick question. Dr. Vini and I were discussing, there's a specific patch that has glutathione in it, correct? And that's the body's master detoxifier. Who would use that patch? When would you recommend the patch that has glutathione?
Let me talk about glutathione a little bit, because glutathione is probably the most powerful detoxifier we have. I'm going to say probably. It is the most powerful detoxifier that we have innately in our body. It was something I would give intravenously to people, especially autistic children, or people with Parkinson's, people with neurodegenerative diseases. It was very powerful. When you give something like that, glutathione, intravenously, you could increase the amount of glutathione, but only for a very short period of time. Okay. The glutathione patch stimulates your own innate production of glutathione, and the studies have shown a 300% increase in blood levels of glutathione. Wow. This is extended. You're wearing the patch for 12 hours a day. Your glutathione levels are high for 18, 20 hours every day. And it is just incredible. We're preparing to do some studies to quantify this, but what we've seen so far is just a dramatic increase. So who would use it? Anybody who wants help with detoxification. In our study, we're going to try it in children with autism. I think anybody with Parkinson's, we know that the glutathione is really helpful in controlling a lot of the symptoms and the progression of the disease. Dr. Vince had mentioned the dementia, the loss of brain function, cognitive function, and a carnosine patch has been shown to slow the progression and actually reverse some of the early cognitive loss. Oh, wow. Carnosine is something that binds to aluminum, and aluminum we know is one of the metals that is involved with Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's. A lot of the heavy metals are a problem. All the heavy metals would be removed, reduced with glutathione. Carnosine specifically grabs aluminum as well. Aluminum is really hard to get rid of. The carnosine also the muscle function. So people with muscle injuries or heart muscle weakness damage get a boost out of carnosine. X39, my favorite patch, because of what I do to my body, is the energy enhancer patch. This was the first patch that the Lifewave David Schmidt developed. He developed it for Navy SEALs. He was asked to produce a non-chemical method to improve their stamina when they go on these 36-hour missions, and doing things like caffeine or amphetamines was making them too wired. They couldn't function well. And he developed a patch that increases mitochondrial function, energy production. And it was so helpful that some of the Olympic athletes have been using it. The Stanford swimming team first tried it, and the coach noted that every single member of his team improved their swim time when they put the patch on. For me, I have a disorder that I get very severe muscle cramps when I exert myself. It's part of my life. I'm used to it. It's pain, and my teammates know how to break the muscle spasms when they have to. But when I use the energy enhancer, I get a 50-70% increase duration on the soccer pitch or biking or whatever before I start getting muscle cramps, and that to me is just huge. And that's just because I'm able to improve what's called beta oxidation, burning of fats in the mitochondria. So beyond, initially we burn oxygen, but after that we need to have that anabolic mechanism, anaerobic metabolism, and that's where the energy enhancers work. So that's been really cool for me.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. I would normally have, I'd wake up in the middle of the night with just horrible pains, every time I played. That doesn't happen anymore.
We've been primarily talking about the X39. These other ones sound, amazing also. I don't know, I think you maybe talked about this a little bit, but why is the X39 so powerful and yet so safe?
Well, it's safe because there's no chemical. It's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid that reflects your energy to stimulate your body to produce your own elements. Nothing exogenous, nothing from the outside. It's all you. And that's just incredible. So often, I'm sure people come to us as doctors with pain, with problems, with issues. And it's great to have a simple, safe method like patches to help them with that, and all the other supplements and things that we do. But how about the people who are still healthy, but they got their whole life ahead of them?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're all destined to die at a certain age, but how degenerate do we have to get during that time? Could we do something like an X39 that keeps our body repairing along the way so that we get to live our life happy and vigorous until the day we cross over? That to me is just mind-boggling. It's the fountain of youth. We may not be extending lifespan, but boy, I'd sure like to be happy.
I think some people use the term health span, increase your health span to match your lifespan, because that's the problem nowadays, isn't it? Conventional medicine is great at managing chronic disease and chronic illness and keeping chronically ill people alive, but their quality of life deteriorates along the way. But here is a way to improve quality of life as we're aging.
People, I don't want to get old. That's not true. Everything we do is to help us get old. We don't want to get decrepit. We don't want to feel achy and drag ourselves through the day. If I was decrepit at age 25, I wouldn't be very excited about, moving forward. But if I'm vigorous at 95, hell, I'm in there.
So how can people get the best benefits from the X39?
Okay. In the company, they're always going to tell you about hydration, and hydration is certainly important because X39 stimulates GHK, and GHK to produce the stem cell improvement needs to be bound to copper. Some people will need to take a copper supplement. But I think that anytime you want to keep yourself healthy, if we're trying to stimulate our body to maintain best health, well, we don't want to be poisoning ourselves along the way. You want to eat food that we were designed to eat, and not with pesticides, organic food, not processed food. You want to keep a healthy lifestyle, keep yourself mentally clear. Don't hold on to grudges and live in the moment. And we if we can keep ourselves not exposed to elements, think of life, the aging process, like a river moving downstream. And if we are trying to keep ourselves from getting to that degenerate phase, well, we have to kind of swim upstream a little bit, or at least tread water to keep ourselves where we are. And if you put a lot of toxins and junk into your body, it's like making the stream run fast. So, give yourself a break, be healthy in body and mind and nourishment, and take enough water.
You talked about some of the other patches that are available, and did you want to say anything else about them, about how they fit with the X39, or was that?
Well, there are a lot of exciting patches. Sometimes I think it's overwhelming if we talk too much. A lot of people are interested in an aloe vera patch that helps with skin care primarily. the skincare creams. I even just the X39 itself, I think my crow's feet were much deeper than they are now. They're still there, but it's just fainter and shallower. So the aloe vera helps with further skin improvement. It also helps with sleep because of the way it functions. That really improved my sleep when I needed it. There's a patch for anxiety, depression. There's a patch to help with hormonal imbalances. Just a number of different exciting patches, but maybe too much is overwhelming to discuss. Everybody, I think, start with the X39 and just try that for 2 or 3 months, see what they get, and move from there.